What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Blink-182, and as I've talked about in previous Blink-182 reactions, or Blink as they were originally known before they were threatened with legal action by, I think, a French group of the same name, and thus changed their name to Blink-182, I'm only really familiar with and fond of, I was going to say their very earliest stuff. Now, Cheshire Cat is the first album I heard of by them, but as I would later discover, most of the songs actually came from a couple previous releases, one that is now known as Buddha, though I think officially, originally, it was just a self-titled album, Blink. And they made a demo cassette before that, I think that's called 21 Days, and a number of the tunes that were on Buddha and Cheshire Cat were also on 21 Days, though I think they were re-recorded for the Cheshire Cat release. But in any case, this is the first album that I became familiar with. I think it's brilliant, it's amazing, and when you listen to what they were doing less than half a decade later, by the time you get to Enema of the State, which I think was 1999, it's so far away from this, you wouldn't even believe it was the same band, except for maybe Tom's vocals, or I suppose Mark's vocals too, both of which are pretty recognizable. But yes, this album and the material that it was developed from on the previous couple releases is fast. It's still pop punk, but it's like thrashy pop punk. And I've mentioned before, I saw them live at an espresso bar in San Juan Capistrano, Steps. And they played with a group called Spoonfed. And when I saw them at that concert, before they became the international sensation they became, they played everything almost double time. They played even faster, even thrashier, and I was just blown away. So by the time you get to Dude Ranch, which was their next album, it felt like they were a bit pacified. Still, I enjoyed it. I think there's good songs on that album, but I didn't like it anywhere as near as much as Cheshire Cat. And when Enema of the State came out, I was like, wait, this is so different from what made me like these guys, which, again, every band has a right to evolve and develop as they see fit, but it just wasn't for me. And at the same time, some of my friends who weren't really into punk then became big fans of Blink because of songs from that era. So, with All the Small Things, I immediately think of, I had several friends who loved that song, and to me it was indicative of, this isn't even the same group anymore, what? So, yeah, it was an interesting thing for me, right when I was disengaging from them is when a lot of people I knew were getting interested in them. In any case, this song sometimes is from Buddha and even before that 21 Days, though as I said, I think re-recorded for Cheshire Cat. It's awesome, and as I said, if you only knew them from when they became world famous a few years after this, you'd be surprised that this was Blink-182. So the song is very fast. It's a sad song in that it speaks to someone who feels like every time they think maybe they're going to be able to have life turn out the way they want, it all falls to the floor, and in those cases they're paralyzed and they don't quite know what to say, and it's framed in the context of a girlfriend seemingly, or indeed an ex-girlfriend, beginning to split away from him, and he can't quite articulate what he wants, and he can't make himself be understood, so he's even more frustrated. So yeah, it's a person who's in a bad way, feels like things aren't going the way they want, he can't explain himself in moments that count, and this other person is basically walking away from him, and he's unable to do anything about it. So yeah, it's an emotionally intense tune, the sonics are intense, and it's just, as I said, indicative of the great fast pop punk sound that they were playing when I discovered them. So let's give it a listen. This is Blink-182 from Cheshire Cat, and it's Sometimes.
They aren't gonna stay. Everything inside me starts fading away. Sometimes it seems like I'll able to be thrown out on the floor. Then it seems like you don't love me anymore. Sometimes I wish I could run away. Sometimes I wish I just had something to say. at me and doesn't know the words to say. Almost like you want just something come right today. All these things I say and do and never plan. But how the fuck was supposed to make you understand that? Sometimes it seems like all I hope for just is still not on the floor. And then it seems like you don't love me anymore. Sometimes I wish that I could run away. Sometimes I wish I just had something to say.
It doesn't mess around. And in that regard, you know, again, this is certainly pop punk in terms of the subject matter. It's not like a scathing political critique or a, you know, biting social commentary about, you know, general attitudes about life and, you know, the nature of humanity. It's more narrow, and yet it is psycho-emotionally perceptive, and I think indicative of the best part of their writing, meaning, like, and if, in fact, maybe this is the case especially in songs written by Mark, where, like, there's a cheekiness to some of the lines, but there's also, like, this self-aware melancholy, and I think that's a lot of their songs, or I think a lot of their songs that are great from this album, they kind of have that flavor. They're a bit, like, self-deprecating, they're a bit melancholy, and yet they're still funny and incisive on a, like, personal psychological level. So yeah, I think this track is great, and in the vein of, let's say, 80s punk, which, you know, many of the bands I listen to are talking about politics and society and, you know, cultural mores and so on, a lot of songs from early Bad Religion, from Dead Kennedys, and, you know, Subhumans, they're a minute and a half long. And this is sort of like that. It really says what it's going to say very quickly and directly, and boom, it's done. I want to say this is literally like a minute long. Yeah, just a little bit over a minute. So, like, it's 90s pop punk, but in a thrashy way, and it's, in its form, kind of paying homage to, like, 80s, you know, anarcho-punk in terms of, like, the length, the direct quality of what it's saying, and the intensity of the sonics. So, yeah, as I said, I love this album even if I didn't follow Blink for much long after this. So, which, again, it's not really a comment on their trajectory other than it just wasn't what I was expecting or particularly interested in. So, you know, obviously they went on to sell many, many records and be very popular, so it's not a criticism of their musical evolution. It's more just like, when I was a teenager, this is something that I was very interested in. Dude Ranch, kinda, sorta, Enema of the State, no, I stopped following them. So, in any case, I've gone through maybe like half this album, I think maybe like 8 tunes at this point, and I think there's maybe 16 overall, so yeah, about half of the tunes, which means there's half still to go. Let me know what you think, and I will see you for the next one. Peace.